I'm talking about blogging today and how we actually can write better blog posts. Who of you already is blogging for Mozilla or privately? That's an amazing amount. Good. The main thing about blogging is that there's a lot of information out there what makes a good blog post, and a lot of information that is very, very stupid, and a lot of information that is very much like for product blogs or for people that want to sell things. And in Mozilla, and especially with technical blogging, it's a different issue. So I've been blogging since, God, 2004, 2003, something like that. And I came from journalism originally, so I came from radio journalism, and there I learned one thing, that whatever you do, nobody cares about. Like when you write this great article or this great piece on the radio, you know for a fact people are going to drive their car or going to be actually ironing or doing anything else. They're not going to sit in front of the radio like this. And we have the same on the web right now. The web is so filled with information, especially with the real-time web, that when we want to do something with our blogs and we want to get access to people and we want to get our information out, we have to change our attitude a bit. A lot of the blogging that people do is like very long articles, very long-winded, really boring things like, oh my God, Mozilla does this, Firefox does that, Firefox does that, Firefox does that. The answer is like, what does it do for me? What is the problem that it solves for our readers? That's what we really should be caring about. So that's why I put this slide together, and I'm going to do a training on Monday for the evangelism reps as well on writing and just snappy writing and getting things out there quickly. So what I found that a good blog post should be much like a good rock song. And a lot of people just don't quite understand that yet. What do I mean by that? Let's take a bit of the details. What makes a rock song great? What happens at a rock song that basically you start hearing it and you're like, yes, go to the dance floor, jump on the stage or on people or whatever you do. What makes you really get excited about that? What is the thing that gets you into it? And the first one is there's no intro. A good rock song kicks right in. Like Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit. The first second you're like, whoa, we're there. Like anything by 9 Inch Nails, there's no intro, there's no like la 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 la, it's boom in your face and you're going for it. And the same happens when you want to get people's attention. You got to get that first second in and like, okay, that's interesting, I want to have that now. There's no time for foreplay on the web. There's just, you have to be the first one there to get people's attention, otherwise they will not come to you anymore. And it should be short and with one single message. A good rock song basically is like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's not like these 9.5-minute things that you had like in progressive rock where you needed a library or you needed a dictionary to understand what they're on about. It has to be a simple message, one song. Boy Meets Girl could be one of them. But one of my favorite bands here, for example, is Bad Religion, and that's one of their first albums. And like, none of the songs on this album is longer than 2 minutes 46. That's the longest. There's actually one song in there that's 48 seconds, which is called I Want Something More. And I Want to Conquer the World, which has a great message, is 2 minutes 18 seconds. If you really use your time well in a song and also in a spoken word thing, also when you give presentations, you don't need hours. You need a few minutes and need to fill these minutes with things that count. And that's something that we should be thinking about, not like, oh, we have enough time, don't worry about it. People are very excited about whatever we do and they're going to read everything we do. So another thing that makes a rock song great is a simple, screamable refrain. Like the thing that comes in the middle of the song that anybody in any stage of inebriation, no matter what drunk they are, they can sing along with. I mean, there is like the Clash's London Calling, I Live by the River, that like when it's played in England, like everybody screams in the room along with it. AC/DC's Thunderstruck, no matter how drunk you are, you still get that sound out, that one word, that's fine, you still, Thunderstruck. Rage Against the Machine's expletive, I don't do what you tell me, which was the Christmas single 2 years ago in England, because somebody played the online competition where they made the Christmas single. And Or Be My Rock and Roll Queen for the Subways, another song that basically a whole room can scream along with. Every good rock song, every good pop song has that. I mean, even Gangnam Style has this Hey Sexy Lady, which is the only thing Westerners understand. And that's the thing that they scream along with and they remember later on, hey, what's that song with that one thing? And a damn good riff hook is another big thing as well. The first few seconds, when you hear the first repeated riff and you see this like, whoa, that's that song. You remember it. Next time you just hear that one thing in there. I mean, anything by Guns N' Roses starts with a really good riff by Slash. And then this annoying whining sound comes in, which is the singing. But it's just, the riff is the things that people remember. Like Welcome to the Jungle, these kind of things, or Sweet Child of Mine. The first few seconds, oh, that's that song. You hear it from far away and you're like, oh, I'm going to the dance floor now. This is the song that I want to have. And simple, short repetitions. Like successful rock songs don't have long sentences in there. They have like one thing after another that people can nod along to, sing along to, these kind of things. That's Metallica's One here. That is very simple for people to scream along because most Metallica fans don't like long words. And of course a glorious solo. In the middle of the song there has to be this long guitar solo that actually gets everybody like, whoa, this is cool. Queen were the best in that. They just ended every song with like 5 minutes of guitar whining. And you're like, what happens there? But this is basically showing off that they're rock and roll. And effective blogging follows the same rules if you think about it. It's the same intensity, it's the same compressed information, and it's the same hooks and reminders that people need to have. A good blog post should get people excited immediately and give them something that they want to repeat to others. Or actually write a blog post about or a tweet about it and copy part of your blog post out into their world of communication. So the first thing, the no intro thing of a good rock song is the great post title. A post title of your blog post is the most important thing. The point is, this is what people are tweeting, this is what goes into bookmarks, this is what goes into RSS readers. I've got basically all my information I get from RSS. That's what I do. I signed up to, that's an RSS reader. I signed up to about 8,000 different RSS feeds, and this is how every blog looks like. No matter how beautiful you make your blog, if I look at all items right now, and not only the unread items, this is what I look through every morning, and this is how I choose what to retweet, what to bookmark, and what to read. So the title is your most important thing. Say everything you need to say in a very short and succinct way in your title, because then people can bookmark it and understand what you're on about. Here's a few examples. The how and why of Firefox OS. I could have started like Firefox OS, great 15 new features, and people don't know what Firefox OS is. So starting with the how and then the why is like, okay, now even when I start reading that, I know what Firefox OS is about. I don't even need to know it. I don't feel stupid. You should not make your reader ever feel stupid. When I read a headline where I don't understand anything in it, I have to have a really big interest in starting to read that. I am Mozilla and you can be too. Great for anybody who's in the community. Like, why did you start to be a Mozilla rep? Why did you start doing something for Mozilla? Because you are part of something bigger. And it shows that we're not a company and some people that do something else. It makes it personal and it brings into the world why you are doing this for Mozilla. 7 things I did not know a browser can do. Sharing a learning experience of yourself is a very good blog post, also a good talk. A lot of times people will not know things and not admit in a peer group that they know it. But if you share how you learn something new or how you do something, that's a lot of successful blog posts. There are always tricks you can find out about a browser or an operating system or whatever. And 7 things, 5 things, 10 things are always a good thing. These are always blog posts that get sent all over the web. People love these little listings. It gets ridiculous when you get like 45 jQuery plugins you need right now. But 7 things, 5 things, always a good thing because you can just go them one by one. And when you write your blog post, you don't need to know it up front. You just make 5 points and fill them out in the time that you need to write your post. That's another opportunity that you have for the list post like that. And then this was an official one that we had lately. Mozilla and National Science Foundation seek developers to build apps from the future. I'm already bored. I don't know who National Science Foundation is. That makes me feel stupid. I think Mozilla is something with a browser. And why is apps of the future in quotation marks? It's a quote from that program, but to me it sounds like, okay, apps of the future, they don't believe it themselves. They're like, yeah, whatever it is, it's not really app of the future. So too long, 2 things in there that I'm not quite sure about. Apps from the future, how could we rewrite that? Something like that, the apps of the future are coming, Mozilla and Science Foundation working together. Something like that, give people something to put their teeth into, and then the explanation. Not the like, we are doing something with something else and something cool is coming out of it. That's exciting for us, but not people for that don't know what the Science Foundation is or what Mozilla does. Jump right in. No ramp needed. Ramp is the thing at music piece when there is only music before the singing starts. So when you're at a radio, when you're a radio DJ, you always have that time to announce the next song and annoy people because they just want to listen to the music. But these are the few seconds that you have where you can talk on radio. But with a blog post, no ramp needed. First sentence is the most important thing. After the title, as I said, was the most important thing. But the other thing is, of course, that RSS reader shows the first sentence as well. A search engine shows the first sentence as well after the title. So your first sentence should give people all the things that they want to have. First of all, active voice. Like, Mozilla released Firefox OS, not Firefox OS was released by Mozilla. Slight difference, but actually much more gripping. Subconsciously, you read this like, oh, it's done. Not like something was by somebody. Active voice is much shorter to write, also in tweets, and actually much more engaging for readers out there. Very simple trick, but a lot of people do that wrong. What, where, and who. If you do an event post, for example, 650 developers came to Singapore to meet at MozFest 2012. So what was happening there, where was it, and when was it? This is every piece of news in the radio has this as the first bit, and every blog post should do the same thing. Like, I don't want to go through the whole thing to find out if it applies to me. If it was just for the Asian market, why would I care? But it's like 650 developers from all over the world came to Singapore to learn about Firefox OS. Okay, 650 people came there, that sounds interesting, must be something cool. Rather than like, oh, Firefox OS was talked about in Singapore, la la la. Please be excited. No, get people the information as soon as possible. Prepare the takeaway. Like when you have a technical blog post, when you talk about a piece of technology, start with the code. Start with like, okay, today WebRTC is the technology to access the camera with a browser. Here is a demo. The code is available here. You can download the code here. So the downloads of the slides that you're talking about, the videos that you're talking about in your post, these links should be up front. Because it could be people like me that look in a hotel room, are very excited about your title, are very excited about your first sentence, and then like, oh, there's a link. I right-click that, I save it. As the hotel connection is bad, I read the rest of the blog post while it's downloading. If you give me the link at the end of it, I probably will not download it anymore because I'm already reading the next thing. Give the goodies out up front. Don't let people wait for them. It's not like a conference where you give out the t-shirts at the end of it. You give the t-shirts out at the front of the blog post, at the first sentence more or less. Think distribution. So when you do a code embed, for example, for JS Fiddle or something like that, also link to that. That's when, for example, when you look at the hacks posts that I've done, if we go to hacks.mozilla.com, not to the admin interface, that's probably not what we want to do right now. Whenever I link to a video, let's see which one is from me here. Cool, lots of stuff not from others. History. Don't know if we've done that. Well, we've actually done it in the hacking Firefox OS one as well. There you go. So instead of just embedding the videos and telling people like, okay, here it plays and here you can go to the hacks post and start doing that, all the videos and everything are also linked for downloading, not the hacking one, that's the Firefox OS one. There you go. So instead of just embedding the YouTube videos here, you can also click the YouTube channel to actually go to the videos there. There's two reasons for that. First of all, why would I want to stay on your blog and watch a YouTube video? That's just stupid. I'm not going to do that. Even if I go full screen, I want to go to YouTube and watch it later, put it to my playlists, do something like that. I personally download them, although it's not possible in YouTube, but there are add-ons for that. Because I want to watch them in the gym. That's what I do. I look at technical stuff in my gym on the cross trainer. But if I could download that for legally, it would be even better. So here we have the YouTube ones, and we also have the slides for downloading and the translations for downloading and all the different formats. So we give people those. Reason again is also not only that I'm not staying in your blog, I might read it here. And Google Reader, for example, and other RSS readers don't embed the videos. So if you say a video is coming next without linking to the video, then people will like, what? Where's the video? He lied to me, there's no video there. So always link the video and then embed it. So you basically allow for both the people who are actually watching it and reading it in the RSS reader. So one message per post. One big thing you will get from people is the whole TLDR, too long, didn't read. Like if your thing is like pages long, then people like the first comments will be like, what the hell are you on about? I don't care, I'm busy. They're busy watching cat pictures or something like that. But they're actually, you can overwhelm people fast. So cherry pick one topic and that links to more. So if you want to talk about the web APIs, you could list all the web APIs, or you could just explain one web API in detail and say like all the others are here, for example, this one, this one, this one, and all what they do. So instead of overwhelming people and giving them all the information, give them only the things that you want to get them into. Get your foot in the door and then actually allow them to open the door and go themselves. Write short sentences. Simple is not stupid. A lot of people are afraid when starting to write and starting to present that their English is not good enough, and they try to actually impress people with long words and very complex structures. You don't need that. Simple language is the hardest thing to do. Like there's a lot of people, a lot of very intelligent people who cannot make a simple sentence, but very stupid people that can impress with long sentences and complex words. You don't want people to feel stupid when they read your stuff, so you don't make it like childish, but you make it easy to understand. People should be able to skim through your article and read it quickly, rather than like having to get a thesaurus open and understand which word you just used that nobody ever used before. And use the 3 edits flow. That's something I've been doing forever. I don't plan my blog posts. I don't plan my articles. I basically write them. I write all the things that come to mind, write them down in one go, and then I go through it 3 times. And every single time I delete the things that are not absolutely necessary. And what you end up with then is a good article or a good blog post, because the things that you find, I just explained that for 5 paragraphs, whereas it could be a link that somebody else explains it on their side better. It's only interesting for people that really want to dive into it rather than getting all the information up front. So 3 edits are a really good way to get rid of all the fluff that you really don't need and end up with the shortest possible blog post with all the information that you need. The refrain of a song, like the screaming one that people remember, is quotes, quotable things in your blog posts or in your articles. So think about doing simple messaging. I mean, I've been doing, for example, the HTML5, I had the HTML5 myth-busting blog post that went all over the press right now. And one of the things I've written in there is I said HTML5 is a Formula 1 car that has to drive on normal roads and gets a lot of extra luggage to carry with from the operating system. That was a quote that people put all over the web. Like comparing something with a real world thing, even if it doesn't make sense, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool, and now I understand what HTML5 is about. Think about little sentences that are statements that are very simple to understand and simple to repeat. These are the quotables that people will actually link from. So these are the tweets that will come about your blog post as well. Comparisons, as I said, work really, really well. Like instead of just keeping it on that very technical level, we could say like, okay, Firefox for Android is the same as Firefox for desktop. Back in the days, Internet Explorer 6 was the only browser available for Windows. Now the Android browser is the only available browser for Android. Firefox will do the same thing there we did for the desktop. These are still comparisons in the geek world, but it makes a lot more sense. When I worked at Yahoo, we had a lot of open APIs, and the press and people didn't know what an API was. So I basically told them, okay, if Yahoo were a car company, we would have our latest car here completely dismantled and people can build it together themselves and see what comes out of it. This is what an API is. So instead of just making, oh, you're stupid, you don't know what an API is, make it a comparison and make it understandable. Verified numbers are very good. Like, make sure you don't make up numbers, like, oh, we got 7 billion downloads last week. Make sure you get the right numbers and say like, okay, Firefox grew 37% in that market last week. These are little quotes that people love to go. That's what the tech crunchers and people like that go in there. that actually want to have numbers. They just want to have figures. They're very busy people. They want to have numbers. And images help too. An image makes sense. Don't put kittens everywhere just to make it prettier. But in the past, it was like, yeah, okay, it just makes your blog nicer. But nowadays, an image is very important if somebody links to your blog post from Facebook, from Google+, from other pages, because they then like, okay, do you want to just show the URL or also this picture next to it? And when you go through a news feed on Facebook and see a picture, you're much more likely to click it than just having a text link in there, especially if it's a nice picture that has some explanations to it. So facts and links are the riffs and the hooks in a rock song. So repeat facts to make them stick, make them overly. As we said before, 37% more this month, which was much more than the growth last year. So truisms, or truths, not truisms, truths, repeating them in your article or your blog post is not a problem at all. Add links to resources. Instead of letting people just read the blog post and get them stuck there, show them where on the web they can learn more when they get stuck, which means they might not click that now, but they might bookmark your post, and next time they're like, there was something about where I find out about HTML5. Yeah, there was this MDN link. So the links actually verify what you do as well. And point to landing pages of things like learning HTML5 or like the webmaker stuff that we do, like that people find more information on a general topic as well. The links are a very important part. I think what people forget, and a lot of when I worked with more commercial companies, they was like, why do you link to our competitor? Why do you link to another website rather than we have a website about that topic as well? To me, any blog that I read is dead if all the links on the blog go back to the same blog, because that is making money with ads. This is basically just keeping you on the same blog. TechCrunch, those people make money that way. Every single link is like, okay, you click back to us, and there's like, oh, this might be a very wrong statement, but here's the proof that it's not, and the proof is on the same blog again. So what tells me that the old one wasn't a very wrong statement? So verifying with your competitors, verifying with outside sources that are not you, actually makes your content much more believable, because you're confident enough to say, like, other people do the same thing, but here is their information. And the lovely thing about Mozilla is we don't have to worry about that, because we are non-for-profit. We actually are okay for other people to do good stuff as well. We don't have to, hey, hush them up or something like that. Lists are the simple, short repetitions of lyrics. So whenever you find yourself having a paragraph that's that long, or with 5 sentences and things, think about if you can turn it into a list. Again, the reason is that people on the screen love to scan things. They love to like go through it. And if you have just this massive block of text, oh, I don't have time for that. A few bullet points, not a problem at all. A big trick I use is like a short what in bold, followed by a dash, and then the explanation why. If you look at any of my wiki pages in Mozilla, that's exactly what I do all the time. So even if you don't want to read the stuff, at least you remember the fat, bold, short points. And the same with like a resource, a link to a resource, and what the thing does. So a lot of times you see just a link and hope that people click on it. But just the explanation after the link, explaining what it is, makes a lot more people click it and understand what it's on about. So don't leave people in the dark. A demo in your blog post, a technical demo, a video demo, a screencast, a JS fiddle where people can play with the code, is the solo of a good rock song. That's where it gets really interesting. The problem is, of course, when it doesn't work. But providing a video is simple to do these days. I mean, we've all got cameras in our laptops. You can record the thing even with YouTube. You don't need a software for that. You can go there, record a bit screencast, put it in there. We're gonna do, I don't know if I got time on Monday to do a training on screencasts, but I can put some things together, what a good screencast is. And a lot of the times, it's not something that takes 1.5 hours. I mean, there's this certain company from Redmond that just released a new programming language, and they think it's get people excited for a programming language is have a guy on his laptop for 1.5 hours talk to about a programming language without building anything with it, just about the language. And you're like, that you're excited about that? Not me. But a video is the best thing ever, because people just like, okay, what does that do? Oh, cool. Okay, then I start reading. rather than that, like I have to already invested interest to actually understand what you're on about. And they are embeddable. The other thing about a video is actually that people will take that at the YouTube video when you put that and put it on their own blogs and put it out there. And the YouTube video itself, when people find it on YouTube because somebody just links that tweet, should link back to your blog post. So use the internet connectivity that way, or the link connectivity between these highly trafficked sites to get traffic back to your site as well. You also get comments on YouTube, you might as well delete them because they're all shit. But it was funny because when I started blogging at Mozilla and I put YouTube videos in, the first 300 comments were like, oh, you're using Flash on an HTML5 blog post. And my answer was like, no, you're using Flash because you can actually sign up for HTML5 video on YouTube, then you will get a HTML5 player. But then I heard when I started embedding HTML5 videos and did the right thing and the cool thing and the new and the open thing, I heard from people in India and other countries that like, why don't you use YouTube? Because I can watch YouTube, but I can't watch the others. Because HTML5 doesn't stream as much as YouTube and Flash does. So Flash can give you a bad quality video, but at least you can see it. You can download it without getting old while trying to download it. And so the benefit of YouTube embeds is there. So I don't care. I give them HTML5 for downloading and upload it to YouTube as well. Not an issue at all. Make the demo work. There's nothing worse than making the demo and then you click on it and it's dead. And we have quite a few on the MDN blog and other blogs that basically are a year old and were only for Firefox Nightly in some prefix that doesn't work anymore, and it's just embarrassing. So when you write a demo, and I've written about this in the developer evangelism handbook, this should be the best code you ever write. A lot of people come out with, it's just a demo, don't worry about it. No, this is what people look at. This is what people judge the whole technology on. This is also what people copy and paste without understanding it and putting it in their own products. So if you write really bad demo code, then really bad products will come out of it, and you're to blame. Nobody else is. So if something is only working in Firefox Nightly, put a big if statement around it and test for these things if they're available. And if they're not available, give people an alert or actually show people a video and say like, oh, your browser does not support this demo, but here's a video of what it should look like, what it should do. So you actually make both happy. You just show the thing anyways, and for people that can use it, they see it immediately. It has to work. A demo that's broken is the worst thing we can do. And a lot of people do it, and it's just not nice. Write excellent code examples. As I said, it should be the best code that you've done. And that is actually cross-linked here to the developer-evangelism.com handbook, which is the handbook I've written is open source on GitHub as well. Open source, it's open text. Well, it's written in PHP, so it's actually open source. And that one actually explains to you how to write excellent code that actually makes sense for people so they don't have to be depressed because it doesn't work. Make them hackable. Like putting them on something like JS Fiddle, JS Bin, and GitHub Gist, Dablet. These are all cool things, because basically if I put a JS Fiddle up, let's see if I have something here. No idea what code that is right now. But that's how I write code nowadays. I basically write something, and when I get stuck, I put it in something like JS Fiddle, send it up on Twitter, and say like, hey, anybody knows how that's possible to fix? You know, instead of having to explain to people what I've done and what I want to get fixed. That's interesting. Yeah, that's not going to run in that one. I just sent this one out. Yeah, that's not going to run snugly. I just set this one out, and people can start messing with it. Because if I now want to change something here and say like, okay, your mistake was that you didn't have another P element here, then I run this one and try it out and say update, and I get a new version up there. You see the 16? And I send that link back to you. So people can play with your stuff immediately and do cool stuff with it. Mozilla Thimble is another one for that one, which we use in the WebMaker thing, where we explain people what HTML is and get their first things out there. So I could save a thimble and use that out there. That was what I did at MozFest when somebody said like, oh, yeah, that's only HTML, it's boring and I can't use any JavaScript. So I wrote this little example to show them how beautiful just CSS and HTML can be if you know what you're doing. And I sent that one out, and people changed the colors and put their own stuff in and started playing with it. So a hackable code example is much cooler than just having a code example that explains things to people. And we're working on MDN as well to have our code examples there in JS Fiddles rather than just having them as like things that get outdated quickly. Much easier to fix for people as well. Now, all of this was just the same between like blogging and music, but now there's a few things that are only for blogging, and these are the specials that we're talking about here. I talked about it earlier. Linking to others verifies your content and makes you independent and shows that you are assured of your work, that you actually know what you're doing and you're not afraid to link others there. There's a great quote by Henry Ford, the car guy. I invented nothing new. I simply assembled the discoveries of other men behind whom were centuries of work. Progress happens when all the factors that make for it are ready, and then it is inevitable. So even if you don't know something, but you spent half a day finding it out for yourself, you found 12 different resources that taught you a lot, that's a blog post. You don't need to be the guy that invented it. You should be the guy that like, I found these 5 cool things that make it easy for me, and look what I built after I learned from these 5 resources. Sharing the knowledge, sharing the learning is as good as being the teacher itself. Because there's a lot of people out there that would love to do the same thing, but or did the same thing and I don't trust that, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to blog that. And that's a shame. You should not stop blogging. You should not stop being scared of it. You should just be excited about it. Preemptive writing is something that I had been a bit loggerheads in with people as well. Preemptive writing allows you to troll your feedback. So feedback and comments is a session on its own. Just 90% of comments nowadays are crap. They're just people that are angry, that want to say something, or people that basically want to appear clever, or people that want to basically just hurt you. And it's just painful, especially in the technical world. It's very, very brutal at times. It's fascinating. Whatever we write on MDN hacks right now, 1 or 2 blog posts will be like, yeah, but Firefox is slow. We didn't talk about this. If you're complaining about that, here's Bugzilla, file a bug. This is where it will happen. But people just want to complain because they think, oh, somebody's looking at these comments there right now, so I will write about whatever ails me right now. But you can help this a bit by doing preemptive writing. Preemptive writing means that you explain the points negative feedback will cover. So look after the topic that you covered. And then think about, if I were a bad person on the internet and wants to complain about everything, if I were an unhappy person, which were the 3 things that I would actually try to poke at? Which were the things that I would make you annoyed about in this post? And then put them in the post and say like, this is not working, or this is not quite there yet. So make obvious comparisons before they happen. The example that we had is that we did this animation when you started Firefox up, and there was this little Android animation that was showing the Firefox logo and put it in the market and stuff. And I was asked to write a blog post about this. And I said like, okay, 90% of the feedback will be, but Google does this with their Google Doodles, right? So I wrote that in there. I basically said like, okay, Google Doodles does the same thing. There's actually a full team in Google. I know the guys who are actually working on the Google Doodles and actually have a few tools that they're working on. So instead of just waiting for the 3,000 comments to say, but it's the same as Google Doodles, I explained that Google Doodles happen already, do the same things, and how much work it is to actually get those done. Our blog post was about how we built the thing. So there was never an article on Google until the Olympics that explained how a Google Doodle was built. So we were the first ones to explain how one of these things are being built as well, and now Google does it as well. So instead of waiting for lots of comments to complain about it, I flat out said it. It's like, yes, this is the same as a Google Doodle, but here's the difference. And here's how we did it. Here's the extra for you out there. Admit flaws and explain how to fix them. Like, okay, WebRTC is working only in Firefox nightly and you have to set a certain preference. This is only temporary. Every 6 weeks we bring out a new browser, so that shouldn't stop you from using WebRTC and playing with it now. Because the first comments would be like, yeah, my Firefox doesn't work. You're an idiot. This doesn't work, man. So you're like, yeah, I explain to you what you have to do to actually make it work. So preemptive writing can be annoying, but it's a wonderful thing to actually get take the air out of the first very inflated comments that people are very angry, and you're like, well done, you didn't read the article because I actually explained that already. It's a good answer for that then. So how do you get started? How do you actually get into blogging? A lot of it is just like, as I said before, find something that you found out yourself, your learning process, share that. A big thing that people like, I want to blog, but I have no idea. I don't know what I should blog about. Everything has been done. As another Mark Twain has a quote, all ideas are secondhand, consciously and unconsciously drawn from a million outside sources. We are constantly littering our literature with disconnected sentences, borrowed from books at some unremembered time, and now imagined to be our own. And there's actually a book about this, and it's called A Technique for Producing Ideas. And that book was written in like 1940, and it explains that any new idea is basically two old ideas put together and looked at it from a different angle. So if you see blog posts that you don't understand, and you would love to understand them, and you find out a way to understand them, here's your blog post. Here's how you actually get people excited about the technology that frustrated you reading the other blog posts as well. So don't think that you have to come up with new stuff all the time. There's a lot of things out there that have been just badly written, that have been just badly analyzed. Some of the old blog posts we have on MDN that are 3 years old, it's like revisit them and say like, oh look, 3 years ago, this is how hard it was to do that. Now with the new technology, this is 2 lines of code, and it works across all the browsers and not only in the nightly browser we had back then. So a lot of these historical things are interesting posts as well. What happened a year later? I would love to do that with a few conferences. I mean, Google I/O always gives you lots of hardware that half a year later doesn't exist anymore. And you're like, what happened to that thing? But we don't do that. It's just like, oh, don't tell about it. Read and share. Big thing. Find something cool. Find a good TED Talk. Make it a blog post. Whoa, I learned about this TED Talk. This is really cool. This is what it taught me. This is what it can teach you. I found this HTML5 resource in Japanese that you don't understand, but here is actually what the different parts of the navigation mean. There's this, as a JavaScript thing, JS-Do-It, I think it is. This is, I think, if it's the right thing. Yeah, this is a community of JavaScripters from Japan that do completely nuts things. They're just like, the code examples that they do is just incredible, and all of them are just in Japanese, so I have no idea what they're doing. But I would love to have somebody curate that in English to me, explaining what they actually talked about there. Because I could look at the code and get very depressed because they're so much better than me. But it would be fun to see what people are doing. So, well, it's not loading here properly now. But look at that stuff. That's nuts what they're doing. But yeah, I don't know what that means. Do I click it? I'm not sure, you know, but it would be interesting to know the learnings of that from somebody local to say like, okay, here's what we're doing. And it's just sad. I mean, I was in Paris for 5 years running at a PRE-web conference. And the last year I lost my bet, so I have to give the first 10 minutes of my talk in French. But before that I was only the only English speaker. And they had so many good talks there that were only in French. Nobody ever heard of them in America, but I saw 2 years later in America conferences that covered the same topics that the French talk had before, just because nobody wrote a little English explanation what that talk was about. So that would have been a really good way in. So what you really get excited about is a good thing to post about. One of the last things is you should inspire and don't incite. There's a lot of, there's this whole thing like I can't go to bed because somebody's wrong on the internet. I have to make the internet better, and I have to tell somebody how to fix their stuff, and I have to tell Microsoft that they're evil because nobody obviously ever known that or said that before. So one of the things I keep doing with myself, and I've done it for a year now, and I'm much happier because of it, is don't post in anger. When you're annoyed about something, that's not the right time to post about it. Go away, have a coffee, talk to your friends, cuddle with a dog, find something cool that makes you happy, then go back to the thing, look at it again. Is it really that bad? And most of the time it isn't. But when you went for the first instinct and said like, oh, Chrome are absolute bastards because they did this and this is killing the internet, and then we will get press remarks in Mozilla like, oh, one of your guys in Mozilla just said Chrome are assholes. That means Mozilla said it, right? You all are actually spokespeople for Mozilla without knowing it. I mean, the HTML5 myth-busting article, I was quoted in the press as a director of Mozilla. And I'm like, I'm not a director of Mozilla, I would like to be, but this is just interesting that I got promoted by the press rather than by the company that I work for. So whatever you do on the web will go back to all the other people around you, especially when you rant about our own products. We know there's problems in our products, but when you put it on your blog, what's wrong with you? You know the people to complain to fix it. Why would you put it on your blog and tell the outside world to help you fix it? There's no way, there's no need for that. Okay, if you're angry, do it on something else. My test for it is think about this really brutal looking guy and think about, would I say what I just talked about, what I said about Chrome or Google or Adobe or somebody? If that guy were Adobe, would I go in the pub and say it to his face? And if the answer is no, then probably it's not a good idea to blog it either. So think about the consequences. We always think about, well, yeah, I blog and it's no problem, like I said that a year ago, don't worry about it. No, the internet does not forget. So whatever you put in there will be pulled up over and over and over again. So make sure that before you blog, it really means you really want to stick with it. And this will be your story for the next 20 years. And if you're not sure, don't blog it that way. And actually change it a bit. So there are guidelines for blogging. There's still a draft in Mozilla. So this will be out in a few months, I think. They're interesting to look at. We don't censor. We don't really tell you not to do anything. But we help you out with these guidelines to make sure that you're not in the crossfire of lots and lots of bad comments or the press making you a person that we have a problem with. Because that's the situation that you want to be in. And the press is good at that. I mean, when you get press requests, if you're at a conference or something and a journalist comes up to you and like, hey, you're with Mozilla, can you give us a statement about this and that? Be very wary about this. As a journalist, as a former journalist myself, I know how to ask you questions that you give me statements that I can quote that make you look really, really bad. Like, yeah, you just basically quickly in the discussion with you, like, yeah, but, and Chrome, yeah, but Chrome doesn't work, it's slow, isn't it? Well, yeah, but blah, blah, blah. Okay, Mozilla guy just said Chrome is slow and doesn't work. That's the quote that I have, and you cannot do anything about it because you said it. So a lot of we have media training as well for people that actually want to do this, where journalists interview you and tell you later on what they would have gotten out of you, which is very interesting to see at times. And it's quite funny when they pull these tricks on you and you've done them yourself. You're like, oh, go on with it. But we don't censor you, but it's a good way to think about looking through them a bit and find out what's going on. And use our channels. There's an amazing amount of Mozilla people that write amazingly good stuff on their own blogs and then get very frustrated when they don't have any listeners or readers. They're like, oh, I wrote this thing for like 2 months, I put it on my blog and nobody found it. I'm stopped blogging now. No, we have a lot of people that do this for a living that actually can communicate it out to the world and actually cross-link it from all the things. So Robert Nyman is looking after the Hacks blog right now together with me. If you want to publish something on hacks.mozilla.org, a technical blog post, tell us about it. We can get you there. We can get you an account. You can start writing your blog post there. We can help you out there as well. We can retweet you. We can put you on Twitter. I mean, I've got my own account here, and I've got the Hacks account open here. So if I wanted to tweet something from Hacks and from my own account, I could do it. If you look at what do we have here actually? You see MozHacks. That is interesting. There's not even a link going somewhere. MozHacks. MozHacks right now is 24,000 followers. That will get that stuff when we tweet it from there. My personal one, if we go there, I've got 21,000 followers, 60,000 tweets. So we will multiply your stuff for you, and it will get out on the web if it's good stuff. Contact the communications team. The comms team also helps you out if it's things more like general Mozilla things. They find blogs for you as well to communicate things out. There's the Behind the Code blog by Tristan Ito, which is all about things about like the ideas of Mozilla and the manifesto ideas of Mozilla. So that's another one where you can actually get out there. And to give a heads up on comments, it's very good as well. When you say like, hey, I'm going to write a blog post about WebRTC in a week's time, then we can tell the WebRTC team, hey, he's going to do a blog post. If he needs comments answered, please read that stuff as well. And not just like, you're like, I don't know that, I don't know that, I don't know that. That's a bad idea in answering all your comments, because all the trust that you build up with the good article, you actually kill with your comments again. But if you get people from the WebRTC team to comment on your blog, awesome. Next time more people will come to your blog. And that's all I had. So thanks very much. Any questions?